Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another Bloomerang Academy class. My name is Scott, and I'm a support team lead here at Bloomerang. I've been here for just over 2 years now. Um, Honestly, love every second of it. It's a really great place to be. Wonderful company. We get to work with alongside a ton of great nonprofits like yourselves. I do have a background in music and some visual media and technology. But I really do enjoy what I do here, and that's solving problems and getting to create solutions and help these nonprofits reach their goals using our software. And outside of that, I'm a normal person. I like to play drums, go biking, go hiking. My dog Rocco, he's in the other room right now. He's going to try his best behavior to be quiet during the time, but I will apologize if the mail gets delivered during our session. You'll probably hear him in the background. And just to make sure you're in the right place, we're going to be talking about designing engaging emails using Bloomerang. And we're really going to be focusing on Giving Tuesday, as that's coming up really quick. So here is our quick agenda for today. So we're going to look at some design tips and a few samples of some nonprofits that have done some improvements along the way to their emails. We're also going to just talk about some best practices for creating a great email that hopefully will get opened by your donors and be engaging, and we'll see those clicks come through. We'll also, probably the majority of our time today will be actually designing an email and working through the process of using our email editor. And then we'll also just talk about a couple of the resources that we have available for Giving Tuesday. So, mass email. It really is a tool for your nonprofit. I think many times it can be seen as this chore that just needs to get done, but it's honestly a tool that you can use to engage your audience, engage your donors, generate excitement and participation, specifically for Giving Tuesday. So you'll want to have mainly some clear steps to act, and I can't emphasize that enough, is with your emails, one important thing is, first of all, to address your target audience. So is it just going to be everybody in your database that has an email address? Or are you going to segment those into some smaller sample sizes? So such as sending only to donors or to board members or those who gave last year and not this year. We'll look at some filter examples later on how you can build those segments right in the email template without having to build a report or build something outside in Excel. But like I mentioned earlier, it's important to have a clear steps to act in your mass email, and I'll show you some examples that we've seen. So links to donate, making sure there's a peer-to-peer page that's posted if they need to get involved, how they can post on social media, what steps are they needing to take once they've gotten your email. Okay, and some general email design tips. You want to have your email reinforce your nonprofit's vision and message. So in other words, it needs to be on brand for your nonprofit. So try to use this mass email to push forward that vision and push forward that brand. And that not only includes text, but also with images, even with your logo that's on there, or even the color scheme, all that can reinforce the brand and the message that you're trying to send to your donors. There's a link on the slide, and I'm going to actually see if I can pull up the page real fast. This is a great article as far as the limitations. This is from MailChimp, but I think this is a wonderful resource of things that are okay to do in a HTML email, which is what our mails will use. So there's things that are safe to do, things that you might want to consider before you use, so things to use with caution, and some restrictions. Some of these things you won't have to worry about if you're going to use them, such as like JavaScript or like embedded audio or video. Ours automatically won't allow that, so you won't have to worry if you have accidentally decided to use something like that. But you'll see, like in this article, there's things that are safe to use, keeping things simple, the width, keeping it around 600 to 800 pixels wide, and then things with caution, such as like background images, those can render very differently on different devices. Custom fonts, that's something that we can't have in our email editor this time, just because we want to have the best experience for any user and any device. So all that to say, check out that link in the slide as well. It's going to be helpful, some tips just as far as some overall rules of mass email. But these last 2 points are key. You want to keep things simple. If you kind of remember when PowerPoint was getting popular and more people started using PowerPoint, we all made the mistake of your first PowerPoint presentation having every single bell and whistle and action taken. And I would actually love to see if I could find maybe some of my early PowerPoint presentations that I did in high school and college, but it can be too much and too busy if you try to add in too many flavors and too many colors or fonts and images. So all that to say, keep things simple. Make sure that the donor and the recipient can easily identify those action steps, and they can get through the email in a simple manner. They don't have to try to hunt things down, but their eyes will just be drawn right through the page. And this last point is also important, is to design with mobile devices in mind. The majority of emails nowadays are opened on a mobile device. So while it may be easier to design on a larger screen, it's important to check out the preview and also to send a test email and look at it on your phone and see how it opens up on your phone. It will look different on like on an iPhone compared to like a Samsung or like a Google Pixel phone. So you'll have to, that's why keeping things simple will allow for less of that to differentiate across devices. Readability. So in today's world of constant connectivity, you don't have much time to make an impact, especially with email marketing. So I'm sure like everyone here, you probably get hundreds of emails every day, and rarely are you going to open up an email and go through the entire email word for word, especially a marketing email. So that's just, you have to have that honest outlook as a nonprofit, realize that many people are going to scan the email quickly and they won't be diving in word for word. So it's important to make sure that it is readable, it's very precise in the messaging, and that the reader's eyes can move across the page. So really big paragraphs or very long newsletters can tend to inoculate your readers, and they might just close out the email before you even get to that action step. Some other things that contribute to readability are keeping fonts and colors to a minimum. We recommend having 2 fonts. So maybe keeping one that is more for emphasis and then maybe one for more text or some paragraphs. Having too many fonts can make the page look busy and be hard to know where you need to go. Also, same with colors. Hopefully, if you have a chance, have some sort of branding or branded links that you can pull up for your organization. So if you can find that color scheme or the logo scheme for your organization and grab some of those colors, that's always a great thing to do. Sorry, there's Rocco in the background. That must be the mail. Also, obvious links. So another thing to consider is those things that your donor is going to click on, they will need to make sure they can find those on the page. And then for these last 2 steps, to have 5 or fewer stories or calls to action. So you want to make sure that you're not having dozens of actions or buttons that your user should be clicking on. So again, keeping things simple and short is a great rule of thumb when creating a mass email. Another rule of thumb here is a 60-40 text to image ratio. So overall, you want to try to keep a good balance of a little bit more text than you do images. Spam filters won't like an email that's all images or image heavy, especially. So keeping a good balance of a majority of text in your email. Also, it helps the recipient's experience. That way they don't just feel like they're flipping through a photo book, but they actually have some content they can quickly glance at and get the message. And also using alt text. Alt text can be applied to images, One that helps with those that might use screen readers or other accessibility devices, so they can see, they're able to decipher what the image will be in the mass email. It also helps with someone who might be searching for an email in their inbox, and you can tag that photo with alt text to give it a description. And it will also help with spam filters, understanding that these images mean something. They're not just random images. And speaking of images, here's just some quick pointers. We do recommend to use Chrome or Firefox, honestly, are both great browsers to use when building with our email editor. We've seen some trouble just with like Microsoft Edge or Internet Explorer, which are not, Internet Explorer in itself is not supported. So make sure you're using a browser that can give you the best experience. For images, if it's a banner or one that's going to be spanning across your email, we recommend about 500 to 800 pixels wide. And for 2-column layouts and thin wide layouts, you can see those numbers right there. We try to recommend that it's a max of 265 for that half and half kind of column. And then the thin wide layout, we recommend that the thin side be 165 and the wide side be 375. Those are just general recommendations just to help the emails load quickly and be viewed correctly on devices. Okay, now I want to pull up an example of one organization that has a before and after of their email newsletter. So this is the before, and as you can see, there's quite a lot. And from what I can see is they're trying to recreate their website. And it's not necessarily the best tactic, as there's just too much information. As you can see, there's all sorts of links. You can see on this left side, there's some blue links here kind of in a column. There's also some view slideshow options, some learn more in orange. The titles are in green. And you can even see that what might be the most important part is the donate today is kind of hidden in that banner image. So it's honestly a little hard to see where that would where you would want to have that donor find it. So and then you can see even at the bottom there's a lot of links back to their site and for signing up and some other links. So overall, we would score this one not too high as far as readability and as being simple. And so now we'll move on to the after. So this is after a little bit of fine tuning of their mass email. And this is a little bit better. So now we can see that donate option is the first thing that my eye is drawn to on the page, right there at the top. And then you can see that clearly they have a top story of the featured parks, and there's a view slideshow button. Notice all the buttons are now uniform. They're in the same spot, same color. And you can even see that the fonts are a lot more uniform. There's a lot less differentiation between the font sizes. Overall, it looks like there's a main heading font size, and there's some subheadings, and then there's a paragraph. And then also they have a really nice branding. So all the colors are kind of flowing together. So much better. So I would grade this one a lot higher as far as being able to be quickly scanned through. Someone can find what they want to find in the email fast. They don't have to kind of hunt down for maybe an update that they're looking for. And that action step of donate is very clear. Okay. So now we're going to jump into Bloomerang, and we're going to see how to bring out create the layout of our mass email and the structure, and then also add some design elements, and such as images, videos, buttons, and social media buttons. So we're going to jump right into that. But before we do, I just want to show off a couple things as far as some best practices to get your emails delivered correctly, and also some resources we have. So real quickly, we have another class on how to best set up your emails for success as far as deliverability. And one thing is to set up SPF. And there's a link to this article here, and I can even pull it up right now. So right here, we have the set up your SPF. Essentially, this is to authenticate your email domain to be used through Bloomerang. So while it's not a necessary task to get to accomplish before sending a mass email, we do recommend it because then that will allow your organization to send emails from your domain. So if you have a at nationalparks.org as your domain, if you have SPF set up correctly, then you can use that email. Otherwise, we will use our authenticated domain, which is the Bloomerang-mail domain, and you'll see that in this help article. So take a look at that after this class. Feel free to chat into our support team if you have questions about that as well. Another thing we're going to see in Bloomerang is we have some new email templates available. Just for Giving Tuesday, you can see we have 5 right here that kind of walk through different scenarios of Giving Tuesday. So one to send to supporters, a save the date, a post-giving thank you, as well as one that might go towards board members or volunteers, as well as a monthly giving template. All of these have some text that has been added into them to help you jumpstart your message and maybe give you some helpful tips on what to write to your audience. And lastly, here's some resources. One super helpful page is our Giving Tuesday resources online. If you just go to bloomerang.co/Giving Tuesday, we have a ton of things about how to set things up to be an expert, what it looks like by the day, as well as how to segment, how to test, how to keep in touch, all sorts of things. You can see this is a pretty long resource. I was reading through this just the other day, and there's lots of really good hints in here. So highly recommend checking this out as well on our website. All right, let's jump into Bloomerang and we're going to take a look. So I'm going to pull up my demo and just start on the dashboard. Just so we can get the same starting point. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit too. All right, so here's my dashboard. If I want to start an email, I click on this email icon on the left side, and then I'll select email templates. And now you notice right here, now I have my list of email templates. And I even have this November Academy class one here. But I want to first show off our Giving Tuesday templates before I jump into one that I've kind of pre-designed. If I click New in the top right, I'll have 3 options. I have a starter template, which is just our default templates that have just some filler text and some starter images. And then we have these new Giving Tuesday templates. So here you can see those designs. You can start with any email. Anyone that would fit your need at the moment. So let's say if I wanted to start with this Give Today template. And this will load the template on here on the Design tab. And then we also have our Filter tab and our Details tab. So here we're going to spend some time in the Design editor here. But I'm first going to jump to the Details page. So I'll click here. Everything in green is going to be required. So you can see pretty much all of these fields right now are going to be required before I can save this template. Everything on the left side is going to be for internal purposes. So just the name of your template. So you could just name this template or whatever you needed. So I might just call this Giving Tuesday template. You'll need to assign a purpose to it. In this case, it might be a solicitation if you're asking the donors to give. Assigning a purpose allows this email to be saved as an interaction on your recipient's timeline. So once they have been sent that mass email, you'll see on their timeline, they will have an interaction marked with this purpose. So maybe I'll say solicitation, and I'll need to select at least one email interest for this to match. So let's say I just want to have this be update, and it's also considered a newsletter. We'll just call it those 2. You can also select all of them if you want to reach the broadest audience in your database. But I'll keep this a little bit more tailored. And on the right side, this is going to be what your recipients will see. So we recommend a subject line that is engaging and that is, again, very simple and will match the vision and the brand of your organization. And one thing we do recommend is, especially with Giving Tuesday, is to put that in the subject line. So potentially put Giving Tuesday, maybe just help us out today, or maybe we need your help. The from name will be just the name that they will see in their inbox of where this is coming from. So in this case, I'll put my name. and then the from email address. So I'll just put my work email. If they reply to your mass email, this will be the email address that will receive those replies. All right, so now I have all my details filled out. You'll notice also there's this option down here for allow blank merge fields. Let's say you had a merge field like for their name or their you want to have it populate with their lifetime revenue. If someone maybe did not have any giving history, would you want the email to still send to them even if that was blank? So this option would allow to send regardless of those merge fields being blank or populated. I'm going to leave that unchecked for now. And then next we'll go to the filter tab. This is where you can drill down and find the segment and the audience you're looking to send your mass email. So right now I'm using a constituent filter. So I'm starting with a list of all constituents in my database. So right now I have 348 constituents. Notice you'll see that some don't have an email address and they'll still be showing up here. We'll automatically skip those that don't have an email address, or if they have a bad email, or if they don't match one of those email interests that were selected. So you don't have to worry about filtering by those that have an email address or not. So with constituent filters, I could search for things like their attributes, or maybe when they were created in my database, or one very helpful one is the has transactions. And maybe I just want to look up anybody who has a transaction, and a specific transaction, let's just say in the last 2 years. So I could look up date, and I'll change during to between, and I'll just go from 1/1/2019 and then leave the second blank. So this will bring in anybody who had a donation from 2019 and 2020. So now I have 77. If I wanted to filter on a different parameter, so rather than the types of people, but maybe I want to filter based on a specific interaction or a specific donation, I could click here on this change filter type. Notice it's going to remove any existing filters. So this will wipe out my filter I just added. So I can click has change to transaction, for example. And now I have transaction filters. And you'll notice that now I'm starting with, rather than a list of all my constituents, I'm starting with a list of all the transactions in my database. So let's say now I want to acknowledge only the transactions from this past month. So I could go again, date, and instead of last week, I'm just going to say last month. Probably have only a few in here. Let's see, 22. So these are, now you'll see that some people might be in here twice, such as John Smoth right here has 3. So we'll only send one email to him, but we will be able to acknowledge that specific transaction if we wanted to. And again, we can also change back to constituent or change to interaction. Now I'm going to pull up my email that I created earlier, just so we can see one that is completed. So I'm going to go to this November Academy class 1. Notice on this page, I can also, if I wanted to make a copy, or I can go right to the preview page, or I can deactivate it if I'm no longer needing it, but I just want it hidden off this page. I can also choose to deactivate. So I'll click this November Academy class. And now we will pull up this template. You'll see I already have my details filled out. Right now I'm filtering with constituent filters for just anyone who has any transaction. And then here's the design. So I have a good mix of some images. I have a paragraph here, 2-column layout, some buttons. Here's a divider. Here is what we consider like a skinny and wide, so 2 columns next to each other. And then as I keep going down, I have some more text. Here's a video link right here and some social media icons. So let's just see how we can add some of these things in here. Right off the bat, if we want to just add like another row to this, let's say I wanted to add another paragraph right below here. I can click on this row tab right here and notice these 3 tabs. So I have content, rows, and settings. Settings are the global options, so things that will affect the entirety of your email. So right now it's set to 500 max. I could also extend this out if I wanted to have a wider looking email. But I would recommend keeping this between about 500 and 600. So we'll do 500 wide. And I can also assign a background color and a default font family. So I'll go back to rows. Think of these like containers for our content. What I recommend when making an email is to start with these containers. Think of them as just boxes that you can place in your email and fill them up with content. You can't place them inside of each other, but you can stack them on top of each other. So if I wanted to drag this to the top, notice now I have a new row up here, and it's asking that we drag some content into here. So maybe I could add, let's say, text. And notice now I have a text block here. And if I want to delete something, I can just hover over and I can either hit this trash can icon here, or also notice at the bottom, I have this undo button with a history, and I can just click undo and that will remove my content. One area that I want to point out and be specific is the difference between a row and the content. So notice how when I highlight and just hover my mouse over on the outside of this section here, we have this little flag that says row. I'm going to delete this for now. So notice I have a row here, and a row here. So I have 3 rows, and this one has just an image inside of it. This one just has text inside of it. And then this one you can see has 2 images side by side. So I recommend using lots of rows. That will help you be able to shift things around, move your email a lot more quickly versus trying to stack everything into one single row. Then you tend to run into some problems of trying to, put like 2 columns into 1 column or vice versa. So I always recommend, so if I wanted to add, let's say, another 2 photos on top of this, I could just drag that here. And now I have, notice, 2 columns side by side. And let's say I want to drag an image here and here. Notice I have an option for browse. So I can click browse. This will pull up my file manager. So I'm going to click on the My Files folder. And I have some already kind of ready to go here. But I could either search for free photos. We have this feature where you can search for some public domain images that are free to use, or you can upload from your device or your computer. So I'll just click on this helicopter here and click insert. And now that's inserted right there. And I could also click here again. And let's say I want to just go to editor images. And I'll add this little sloth here. Here's a little design tip. We see this a lot in support, is how to get these to match up correctly. Notice how this overhangs this image over here. The reason is there are different ratios. So just like with photographs, you have like a 3:5 or a 4:6. These images are on different ratios, so they won't line up. So they'll need to be on the same cropped ratio. So what I could do is just click on this one over here, for example, and click Apply Effects and More on the right side. This is going to pull up our little image editor here. And if I click crop, notice I have these ratios up here. So I can see this image looks to be like a 3:2. So I'll keep it at 3:2 and click apply and save. And now I can just go back to that other image and apply the exact same ratio. So I'll go to this sloth picture, apply effects. I'll go to crop and then 3:2. Notice it's going to trim off some on the top and the bottom. So I'll click apply and then save. And now those images are going to be lined up right next to each other. The difference between this row and this is I have some padding. So what I can do is click on this image, and under content properties on this right side, here I can add a URL if I wanted this right here in this action section. If I wanted this to link somewhere, if they tapped on this photo, I can add alt text right here. And here's the padding section. Maybe I want to add just a little bit of padding around my photo. I think I have these set to all to 5. Yep. So if I just add 5 pixels of padding around it, now it's like a nice little grid. And if I wanted, I can move this entire row to another section if I want to, or these individual photos I can also swap around. Okay, I'm going to just remove that for now. As far as adding a button, I'll show how to add that in its entirety. So I just delete this. I can drag a button right into my, wherever it says drag here. So notice if I want to go right below into this row, or if I want to go just above, I can do so. So maybe in this case, I'm going to put it right above. I can just click right on the button and let's just do give today. And I'm going to bold this. And I've been keeping my buttons at 18. So I'm going to up that to 18. And maybe I want to change it back to that yellow instead of this blue. So notice here on this button options, one, I have my action up here, and I can link this to someplace. So maybe I want to link it to my donate page. I would just need to put in, let's just put in our donate page real quick. There's that. And then for this background color, I can click on here. I can click any color I would like. I can also have some of my previous colors saved. So I'm just gonna pick this yellow I already had. You can also add a hex code right here. And then for the text color, I'm gonna change this to black. So I'll just click on black. There we go. So that is a button. If I want to change some of the padding around, maybe how large the button is, I can go here down to this padding and extend this out a little bit. And if I want this to be more of like a pill-shaped button rather than a square, I can just increase this border radius. And now you'll see this is more of like a pill. Okay. Notice right here we have a merge field. So this will populate with the donor's informal name. To add a merge field here, if I just click my cursor wherever I would like to add one, so let's say right at the beginning, you'll see this text toolbar above, and I can click more and then insert merge field. And now I can search for any constituent field that is available here. So just about every field that is on a profile or even custom fields will be available in here. So I'll just look for informal name and click insert. And now notice there's a space between this asterisk and the comma, so I'm going to remove that. That way it looks like it's embedded right in the paragraph, their name. You can also change your text here with this toolbar. Any sizes or any emphasis or links can all be available in here. As we keep going through this, we'll see here's a divider. So to add those in, if I delete here, notice I added an empty row here. I'll just drag a divider directly in there. And if I click on it, now I have some properties for that divider line. I could increase its weight if I want a very thick line, or even how wide it is on the screen. In this case, I'm going to leave it at 100, and I'm going to leave that back to 1. Okay. All right, a 2-column layout. I'm going to show how this works. So I'm going to add a third one below here. So notice I have a row. So I'm going to add another row here. Let's do the skinny wide, and I'll drag it there. And then I can just drag a image right there, and I'll do actually 2 text right on top of each other, one for the title, notice, and then one for the body. And I'm also going to add a button directly below. So I can just add any image. Let's go back to that helicopter image. All right. And then we're going to just add a title. Let's just say anything that's engaging. I have a helicopter and students, so I have it's all over the board today, but let's just do, I can type today. And I can bold that, I can change the text color. So in this case, I have that branded. I'll just do the, there's that. And I'll increase that up to 16. And let's just add some default text in here for the time being. There we go. Okay, and then for this button, again, I'll just add a link to wherever this needs to go here in this action section. And I can change this background color. I'll just change it to that kind of bright teal that I have. And maybe I'll just say, view the slideshow. I can bold that, and I've been keeping those at 18. And I've also been making these pill shapes, so I'll just go up to 25 on here. And I've also aligned this left, so there we go. So that's all matches here. One thing you're probably noticing is how these are slightly off compared to here. One newer feature with our email editor is being able to adjust the columns. So if I click on this row, notice I have what is called customized columns right here. And you can see it's 4 by 8 right now. And I can even adjust column 1 if I click on this 4. So if I want to add padding directly just to this image of the helicopter. And now if I click on the 8, notice I have column 2 properties here. So this will affect just the text side, for example. And if I want to shift the size of my column, maybe I want half and half, then I can drag these to a different ratio. So notice I could really squish the text if I drag that all the way over, or I could keep it here where I have it lined up as this 5 by 7. So now this kind of matches these ones here a lot better. So that's a quick way to add a 2-column layout with a button as well as some text in there. Again, we have another divider, and then we have some more text here. And then here is a video. So here I'm going to delete this, and then we'll show you how to add one in. So right now I have this empty, looks like property here. I'm going to delete that as well. So let me pull up a video. Let's see, there we go. Now if I just drag this video content right below, notice it's going to say add a video URL. So if I click on there, here's a field for video URL. If it's a YouTube URL or a Vimeo URL, so right now I have a YouTube URL. Once I enter that in, it's going to automatically generate a thumbnail for that video. And it's also going to add automatically a play icon on top of it. So notice this, I can change this to a rectangle. Maybe it could be a dark, and I could increase the size of that if I wanted to do so. So that's a quick way just to add a video. You could also, if perhaps the video you're looking for has a thumbnail you're not wanting to use, another trick is just to find the image you do want to use. So let's say I wanted to link any image. What I could do is just go back to content, browse for an image. Let's say we'll go back to this sloth here. And then if I was to click on this sloth, I could just, right here in the action, I could add that same video link. So then if they were to click on this image here, it would go directly to that video. The video, like we mentioned earlier with the limitations of mass email and HTML, is they won't play within the email itself. So it will only provide a link for them to click on, which will then open up either YouTube on their phone, or if they're on a desktop, it'll just open up a new window. Okay, so that's the adding a video in there. And then last we have some social media icons. So I'll go ahead and remove those and show how that is added in there. Click on the content here and then drag the social icons in. And if I click on this content, I can choose a collection to use. So there's like these full color options, blue, light gray, dark gray. So I'm gonna click these dark gray ones. And then you can add whatever icons you would like to use. So maybe I don't wanna include LinkedIn, but perhaps I'm gonna use Vimeo. So I can just click on the Vimeo icon. I also have some other options down here, such as icon spacing. Maybe I'm gonna spread these out. And I could even add some padding around them. And let's say if you wanted to keep things hidden on whether they're looking on a desktop or mobile, you also have options here. So maybe if you only had some very mobile friendly apps here, maybe you would hide this section on a desktop client. Otherwise, you can just remove that option. And right here we have this contact information block. Notice if I click on this, this is locked. So this content will not be able to be deleted, removed, or even edited, just mainly because due to the CAN-SPAM Act, where every mass email will need to have a reference name and contact information, just so they can verify where the email is coming from, as well as an option to unsubscribe. So every email, you won't have to worry about with Bloomerang mass emails. They will provide your organization name, address, phone, and website, as well as options for the user to unsubscribe or update their email interests. So notice these merge fields here will populate with whatever's been set in your organization settings, which can be found here in the settings gear. All right, so that is a lightning fast overview of designing and building an email. Overall, I just wanted to show a couple tips and tricks of how I got some of these elements to look the way they are and just how to get familiar with our interface. But let's move on to kind of prepping and testing this, and then we'll save some time for some questions at the end. This is a very helpful section right here. So we have Get HTML. This will provide a download of an HTML version of your email. So if you wanted to post the email on your website, perhaps you could use this file to do so. And then here we have the Ahern audit. If I click on this might be poor since I'm using lorem ipsum and some other Latin, so I'm probably failing this right now, but the Ahern audit will scan your email for the U-test. So making sure that your email is tailored toward your audience and making sure that you are using you just as much, twice as much as using as we. That way you're engaging your audience and they feel like they are reading it in their person. And also there's the Flesch Kincaid reading level. So right now mine's at a 9th grade, which might be a bit too high. Again, I have sample text in there, but ideally you want to keep it about a 6th to 8th grade reading level. One that helps make sure that those that people can scan your email quickly, that it's not reading like a textbook, but it's reading in a way that is clear and allows them to scan through the email fast. And if it's too low, you want to make sure that it's at a right level of being able to engage your audience and really, color the story that you're trying to tell. Here's a send test option. If I click send test, I can send up to 3 test emails at one time. So I would highly recommend this step. So when you are ready to getting ready to send your email, I would recommend sending it maybe to your own inbox, maybe to another coworker or another volunteer or board member that would like to see the email before it's sent out. So you can send a test email there. And then we have the preview layout button. So this is very helpful just for a quick glance. Like I mentioned earlier, emails will render and differentiate across devices. So it's not uncommon for an email to look slightly different on one device compared to another. So again, keeping things simple, keeping things with mobile devices in mind is crucial. So here you can see what this email would look like on a desktop version. And I can get a quick mobile version right now. So notice that this paragraph right now at the top right now is maybe a little bit too large. So this is one example of possibly trying to trim this down or moving this to another section. That way you can see that your action button would be maybe the first thing that they see. But notice that this is a mobile responsive template. So instead of the images being side by side, now they're going to be stacked on top of each other so they are able to be viewed a lot easier on a smaller device. And notice that instead of these, again, being side by side, these columns, now they are stacked on top, which makes it a lot easier to for mobile readers to view and to click on these buttons so they're not tiny for their fingers to tap on. All right, so once you are ready with everything, you've tested it, you've previewed it, everything looks great. I always recommend just double checking your filters. So I'm going to be sending to everybody that has a transaction on file. My details section looks good. I have a subject line, the from name is correct, from email is correct, and I can click save and preview. And now just a quick overview of this page. So it found the 259 constituents that were from my filters. Of those 259, only 119 of them actually had an email address. So we're really working with 119 right now. And of those 119, you can see we've skipped 39 of them. And we'll skip based on whether their email is invalid, so it's been flagged as bad, or if they've unsubscribed from the email interest or opted out, or if they had a blank merge field and you had that unchecked. You can check on the skipped recipients on this tab. So here I can see, for example, Rocky Balboa, Harvey Dent, they have bad email addresses, and below here, we have Big Bird, Andy Dwyer. They all opted out of emails from my organization. And you can also get a quick glance of some of your recipients right here. And this is a very helpful tab right here, the design preview. You can preview the first 100 of the list just to get a quick glance at how it's going to populate. And it will include, so here I'm going to be sending the Johnny Appleseed, and I can see that that merge field is populating correctly for Johnny. So I can see his name right there. Same with Bad Ticker Cardiology. So this is an organization, and I can see it populate with their organization name right there. So this is a quick little preview. You can see my contact information has been filled out now, as well as my unsubscribe preferences. So this all looks good. So once I'm ready, I can click send, and I can either choose send now or schedule for later. If I do schedule for later, I can pick a future date. Maybe I want to do Giving Tuesday. So I can go to December 1st. And maybe I'll do 11 a.m. This will be set to my user time. So right now, my user is set to Eastern Standard. So if I click save, now I have scheduled this, and you'll notice I'm back on the email template page, and now there's this green bar that says once. So this is going to tell me that this is scheduled to go out once on December 1st at 11 a.m. All right, and that is a quick overview of the whole process. I've been seeing some questions come in, so I'm going to start trying to field some of these Q&A sections and see if we can get these answered. All right, so as far as let's see, how does Bloomerang determine bad email addresses? Great question. So we use another service that will, once you enter in an email address on a profile, it will scan that across spam lists, other blacklists on the internet that might have been quarantining that email address, or has flagged it as one that should not receive emails or will hurt your sending record. So essentially, we use another service that will scan that automatically. If there is an issue, you can always chat our support team. It does happen from time to time where an email might be flagged as bad. Perhaps it was on a list prior but has been removed, and maybe that hasn't been updated. So while it is a little bit more on the rare side, it's always good just to double check those, because you do not want to send the emails that are going to flag you as spam. It not only hurts Bloomerang sending record, but it also hurts your organization. So making sure that those you're sending to valid emails that are wanting to receive email is very crucial. Can you schedule more than once? At the moment, you can't. So you can schedule for one future date, and then you'd need to set up another schedule after that. So that at the moment, there is no recurring schedule. So that those would need to be created. So if you had, let's say you wanted to have 3 ready to go in the pipeline, then you would need 3 templates and schedule each of those for a date in the future. We use QGive as a donation platform. They have a question on forums asking donors if they want to opt in or out of email communications. If you select opt out, then should we select that on the donor's profile? Great question. If I do recall, I believe that those should communicate. I would probably need to check on how QGive's integration is going to work with Bloomerang, but from what I do remember is that if they select opt out from the form, that should be translated to their Bloomerang profile. And if that's incorrect, then I would say your answer is yes. I think if a donor has decided to opt out of emails and they are considering your organization, I think it would be best practice to mark their profile as opted out. And that might be something that you have to check with your donor base or that donor specifically. It's perhaps they marked it by accident. So that's always a great opportunity for a follow-up. But overall, if someone has chosen to opt out, the best practice is to make sure that they are not receiving emails. Yeah, alt text. So this is just a way to, it offers a few services. So if I pull up my design again and click on an image right here, one is it's a description of the photo. So I could just say volunteer horse. I think she's brushing the horse. I don't know much about horses. But we'll just say I can provide a description of the alt text. This provides anybody that might be using accessibility, like maybe like a screen reader. That way they can understand what that image is supposed to be showing. It also serves the purpose of helping the email be found in an inbox if they're searching for specific things or a specific topic. That might ping a filter if that alt text has the right description. So there's a couple services it provides, but mainly it's for accessibility purposes, as well as just helping that image be found and improve that email's performance. Because again, with spam filters, if there's images, I can't say that spam filters will just disregard images without alt text, but I would say it is a best practice or a good practice, I would say, to include alt text for images. Could this be used as a newsletter template instead of creating one on another platform? Not quite sure. As far as you might have to clarify that, Jessica. You could certainly, if you're meaning like a printed newsletter, we do have like a letters feature where you could create letters. Otherwise, you could definitely make as many newsletter templates you would like in Bloomerang. We also have an integration with MailChimp. So if you would like to use, if you're comfortable and familiar with MailChimp, we do have that option now. So if I was to go to email settings, you can see we have this MailChimp integration section. This would allow you to essentially push your contacts from Bloomerang to MailChimp, and then you could design and create the newsletter or that email campaign in MailChimp and send out of MailChimp. We have a whole nother class, an Academy class on the MailChimp integration. So you can check that out. We also have some support docs that go through that process as well. But if that didn't answer your question, feel free to chat back in. I'll be happy to try to clarify. Yeah, HTML feature. Great question. So if I go to my template and I click the Get HTML button, once this loads, there we go. In Chrome, this is going to create a download right away. I'm not sure if you can see this on my screen, but it added you can see my email.html file. So what I could do is then go, let's say if I open up Notepad, I think I can actually do this from here. So if I show in folder, there we go. And I'm going to open with just Notepad. So now this looks like a jumbled mess, but this is essentially the HTML version of the email. So you can see this has like the header information, and then I have our the CSS here at the top, and then so you can include all of this. So if you wanted to archive this in your website, you could just copy this whole thing and then go to your website and insert that HTML code, and that would render on your site. There might be a few things that you'd have to check on. Sometimes sites, CSS, they will override the CSS or the styles of your email. But overall, it should recreate this template on your site for viewing. Yes, regarding scheduling more than once with other platforms, resend those who didn't open. Yes, that is a great question as well. So we do have that option, but it would just require to filter for those specific people. So let me go to like a sent email, for example, and find someone that has not opened. So this also will showcase this email filter page. If I go to show more filters, I'll look at some that have been sent already. And let me go to my September Academy of Class 1. I'll go to tracking. And everybody are 0% open. Looks like only one person. Let me find another example real fast. Let's see. I can't remember if this is going to be the same one or not. Okay, this one might be better. Nope. Either way, here is what we can do. Let's say you had a template that you wanted to resend. So perhaps like our Academy Class 1 again. I would just go to the filter section And what I could do is remove everyone that, I could keep the filters the same and then just remove everyone that opened the email. So I could go to this or section, look up has interactions, specific interactions. And then what I would need to find is the subject of that email. So I believe ours was titled, let's see, we can't do it without you. So I would just add that subject line in there. Then I click this green and go is opened. Click OK. So now you can see this filter. I'll be removing any constituent that has this interaction and they've opened it. So at this moment, it's not going to remove anybody since I haven't sent this one yet, but that is how you could filter for that pretty quickly. Just add that one filter. You would want to probably double check a few constituents just to make sure that sometimes your include filters could be interacting with your exclude filters in a certain way. But essentially that would be the process, and then you could just send that to your unopened audience. Yeah, insert the informal name in the first paragraph. So here I used a merge field. So let's say if I wanted to add one, let's just make another quick paragraph just so we can see a little bit easier. If I just place my cursor anywhere, let's say right here, I'll just do, so my cursor is right there before the comma. If I click more and then insert merge field, and then I could look up their name. I could just scroll and look for it, or I could also just look up such as first name, formal name, informal. So maybe I just want to do their first name in this case. And then click insert field. And then notice that's going to be populated with these asterisks, curly brackets, and first name. You can technically just type that out too. So if you wanted to just add it in manually, that's also an option and that will work. But it's usually a safer bet just to click this button and make sure it's the correct format. Aaron, yes, great question. You can. So I did not go over this feature actually, but we do have a HTML content. So if you had a newsletter or a pre-made email template, then essentially you could just, maybe if I want to add another row up here and then go to content, now I have an HTML block. So if I click on this, notice now I have this window where I could add code. So I could add some HTML. We do recommend that you know your stuff with HTML. So if that's something you're comfortable with, then you can certainly add in code and that will render in one block. So you would lose a few bits of functionality as far as being able to like resize columns. You would not have some of the features like dragging those around, but it would essentially just take your HTML and render it directly into that content block. And yes, Yvonne, for that one, we just hit that with a filter. I can show that real fast again. As far as sending to someone who did not open, want to send them again, it would just be this. You could use a has in a specific interaction filter, and I'll show how to add that real quick again. So I could go to this blue or, has interactions, specific interactions, include. So I would look for the subject of my email again. So I have my subject of the email that they did not open. And then just click this green and look up is opened. And so now I have subject contains, is opened. Those are paired together with an and then click OK. And that's the filter you would need. Okay. Any other last second questions? I know we're just turned 3:30, but I'm happy to answer any of the lingering questions, but that looks to be our time. I think so. I appreciate everyone coming out today and attending the class. A lot of fun. If you have any further questions on the email editor or just sending emails in general or anything Bloomerang related, you can always just chat our team. If you go up here to this question mark icon and click either email support or live chat online, you'll get one of our wonderful reps and they will walk you through any issue you might be seeing. So thanks so much. Stay safe out there, and let's get excited about Giving Tuesday. And we'll see you guys next time.